So finally, we have Lars Ramfelt. He holds a PhD in computer systems networking and telecommunications. He's now the CEO and founder of Yanzi Networks, which designs and builds IoT solutions that remotely monitor data like motion, humidity, and energy usage. So, Lars, welcome.
Thank you.
So let's sort of start with, who your customers are and what it is that they are looking to do with the technology that you implement.
Absolutely. So Yanzi as a company, we provide networks and solutions at the customer premises for bringing in data from all of those sensors that we hear about. We also manufacture sensors. But the goal of the company was from the beginning to how can we basically enable all of these sensors to bring data into the cloud. And that's why the perfect partnership with IBM. And we connected very deeply, very fast into the IBM cloud from the beginning of our collaboration. Our customers are the customers that works in buildings. So our primary customer is facility management company, such as ISS that we're on the stage here is a typical what we would target together with the property owners and also with the tenants. So all three categories is what we are trying to focus on and provide sensor solutions to actually understand more about the building. We sometimes say that we want the building to talk back to the different users. And for them, there's quite a different, the needs for these three categories are quite different. The property owners, it's today very much about energy, as we heard about here. The facility management company is very much about dealing and efficiently deliver service out to all of them. And for the tenant, there might be other things like to efficiently use its space, or even more importantly, how to increase productivity, which is the things that we try to provide solutions to actually enable that.
Earlier we were talking about what you do with all of these buildings, right? How do you take all of the existing buildings around us and retrofit them?
Absolutely.
To make them into smart buildings?
Yes. The challenge that we see is that the 95% of the buildings are not new. They are old. They are existing. And if you look at the energy consumption of those 95%, it's even more than 95% because they are not optimized and they are not efficient. So from the start, we said, okay, let's focus on where we can do it. So we focused on wireless technologies. Doing this is, other people have been tried, but what we also do is we actually provide an enterprise security model with individual certificate in every sensor. And this is the three cornerstones when we bring in these systems into the new buildings. And that is what also, after 4 hours, more than 4 million data points per day was actually coming out of that building and brought into the IoT Watson platform and allow us to actually do absolutely new and amazing things.
So when we're talking about a 19th century building, this is what we're talking about?
Yes, absolutely.
So does it require the building to be ripped apart?
Absolutely not. We do it today, and we have done a couple of installations. UK market is actually our largest market today. We are from Stockholm, for people that cannot hear my broken English here. But we're from Stockholm, but our largest market is actually UK. And we try to help companies to go into existing buildings, and within a few days, or a few weeks maybe, they can bring them alive and actually have data coming out from it, and actually start making
What
decisions.
kind of data are the sensors measuring?
Yeah, so like much of the sensors measuring climate sensors in high density, 50 to 150 sensors per 1,000 square meters is a typical, that's somewhere. At the high end, when you want to do individual chair space utilization, but at the low end, if you only want to do climate, CO2, ambient light, ambient noise, there's a whole spectrum of sensors that we bring in. And for an end customer tenant, he wants to improve his productivity. So he wants to know that the CO2 levels are not too high. He wants to know that the temperature and the climate. For the property owner, he wants to know that the system runs efficiently. So he wants to know that he doesn't run the heating and the cooling at the same time, which actually happens sometimes, and so on. And by bringing these new sensors in old installation, we can detect those things and increase efficiency of all of them. That's our goal, is to basically have a horizontal solution with multiple sensors that you bring in from the sensors, and you go into existing buildings and do it with a minimum of preparation.
Earlier, in our earlier discussion, we talked about privacy, of course. Yes. So what kind of information, what's the potential for these sensors to gather that kind of information?
Yes. What we're working on is that we have peer sensors to actually see where people are. It's very hard to optimize energy if you don't know if someone is in the room or not. So you sort of need to know that. We typically never collect personal information or specific information to people. If you want to do that, you typically want to do it with an app. It's much more efficient than using our system. But what our system can provide is things like footfall counting, knowing how many people that are in various parts of the building. It can, if a fire alarm goes, you know exactly that I have 3 people in that part of the building. There's a lot of other things that we can do without actually getting all the way into the individual personal information.
Wow, great. Lars Ramfelt, thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.